The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pool Guy Show. Today I'm going to talk about one problem that you're going to run into in your pool. And if you haven't run into this problem, you're probably going to run into this problem. If you do service for a living, you're going to see this. And this is when the pool water is cloudy. So I'm going to go over the causes of it and some ways to cure the cloudy pool water. This week's episode is brought to you by InyoPools.com. Inyo Pools has been helping pool owners find the right pool parts since 2001. With over 50,000 pool parts in stock, order online today and have the parts delivered right to your door. Also, this podcast is brought to you by Riptide Pool Vacuum System. You can learn more about the Riptide Pool Vacuum System at www.riptidevac.com. Riptide is a powerful cleaner that you can use to get large leaf debris off the bottom of a pool rapidly. So if you do service, this is a perfect way to speed up your day out there. So next to having a green pool, a cloudy pool is probably the second biggest problem you're going to find out there if you service pools or if you're a homeowner. So let me give you some of the causes of a cloudy pool. And the first three causes are probably going to be the primary causes for you to have a cloudy pool. And these are an imbalance in chemistry, meaning there's no chlorine in the pool, a dirty pool filter, or poor running equipment. So any combination of these three problems will cause the cloudy pool water. So let's start with the chemistry. A lot of the times, especially in the summertime, the pool will run out of chlorine, and if the temperature outside is 100 degrees, 90 to 100, the water temperature is in the 80s, the pool will turn cloudy pretty much within 24 hours of having no chlorine, and then give that about a week to turn green. So the cloudy pool is probably a precursor to a green pool or a pool with a lot of algae problems. You may have algae also in a cloudy pool. So the first thing that you need to check is your chlorine level in the pool. And so a lot of the times it's just not having any chemicals in the pool that causes the pool water to get cloudy right away and murky. So that's usually the primary cause is a chemistry issue. And I see this a lot out on my pool route. I'll get to a pool and after a week or some usage, the chlorine has zeroed out. Zeroed out means that the chlorine level is at zero. There's no chlorine in the water, and the pool will turn cloudy. So this is really easy to fix. What you have to do is bring the chlorine level up to shock levels, which is 5 to 10 parts per million. 10 parts per million is probably preferable, so I would definitely use liquid chlorine to do this. And I'll talk more about why liquid chlorine is the best and how some powdered shocks may actually be clouding up your pool. So shock your pool, bring the chlorine level up, and a good tool to use to know how much chlorine to add to your pool to bring it up to shock level. There's a website called www.poolcalculator.com. You just go there and you put in your pool size, the free chlorine level, which would be 0, and then what you want it at, and you want it at 10 parts per million. It'll tell you how much chlorine to add. You just type in a percentage of the chlorine you're using, and it'll give you the amount to add to your pool to bring it up to 10 parts per million. That's probably the easiest way to know how much chlorine to add to your pool. And then when you bring it up to that level, you also want to run the pool longer than the normal run time. So if you're running your pool for 6 hours a day, I would boost that up to 18 hours, maybe 24 hours. And within that time period, the pool should clear up pretty quickly. So add chlorine. Run your pool longer than your regular scheduled cycle, and that should clear up the pool if that's the problem with the cloudy water, having no chlorine in the pool. The other problem that you're going to run into, depending on your filter type, is that the filter is actually dirty, the water's not flowing, and a good indicator is the PSI gauge on top. Usually your clean filter is 20 or below, and the dirty filter will show 30 PSI or higher on the gauge. And that's a good indicator in most cases. Sometimes the gauges aren't quite as accurate depending on your filter type. Another way to tell if your filter is dirty is the flow. So look at the skimmer. There's a sucking in debris in the skimmer. Is the return jets shooting out water rapidly? So the flow of the pool is a good indicator that the filter is dirty. So you want to clean that filter if you find it dirty. If you have a cartridge filter, you want to take it apart, clean out the cartridges. De-filter, you may be able to backwash it. You're probably better off taking it apart, cleaning the grids off, and recharging it with diatomaceous earth or DE. And if you have a sand filter, you will backwash the sand filter, and that will help clear up that cloudy water if the dirty filter is a problem there. You also want to check the skimmer basket and the pump basket that may be obstructing flow. I'll touch a minute on that also, about the equipment that could be causing the cloudy water. But yeah, the filter, definitely if it's dirty, clean it, and that should help clear things up pretty rapidly. A lot of times you'll have a good chlorine level in the pool. The pool will be cloudy, and that's an indication of poor flow and a dirty pool filter. So if you have a sand filter, also if you're backwashing your sand filter too often, that could also cause inefficient flow. So be careful with your sand filter. You don't want to backwash it every week. Some people backwash it every week, but you want to backwash it only when necessary. When you see the flow drop off, then you can backwash it. That'll help prevent the pool from getting cloudy, from running inefficiently. And the sand filters are the most inefficient filters. So if the pool is cloudy and you've shocked it, bringing up the chlorine level to 10 parts per million, and you have a sand filter, it may take a lot longer to clear up than if you had a DE filter or a cartridge filter. So the equipment is also a problem if you have if the pump basket is full of debris and the water is not being pulled in there. Generally you'll see the PSI drop in that case. So if your clean filter is at 20, and if you notice that the PSI is at 10, chances are the pump basket is full of debris, or the impeller in the pump is actually clogged up with debris. So a good way to clear that impeller is to turn the pool off, remove the pump basket, put a screwdriver in there, and move the impeller with the screwdriver, spin it with the screwdriver, and that should reduce up any debris that's stuck in the impeller. Then you want to put the pump basket back in, fill the pump up with water, put the lid on, and turn everything on. And sometimes I'll see a skimmer basket that's so impacted with leaves that it causes the pool not to have flow, causing it to be cloudy. And I run into that a lot on my route with the oak trees when they start to drop on the pools. The oak leaves don't really absorb water, and they'll go into the skimmer and kind of block the skimmer off. And if you ever had a pool with oak leaves, you'll know that you take the lid off the skimmer and the leaves will be just popping out the top, and it won't let any water through because the leaves don't really absorb the water and shrink down in the basket like other trees. So we covered the chemistry. So if the pool has no chlorine, it's going to be cloudy. If the filter is dirty, or if the skimmer or pump basket are clogged up, that would also cause a cloudy water. And then the other thing I want to touch on is really old equipment. If you have really inefficient equipment, really old pump, a really old filter, chances are your pool clarity is going to be affected by that. So really old pool equipment will also cause clarity issues. And in the same token, if your equipment has damage, if the filter has rips in the grids and diatomaceous earth is flowing back in, or if you have a cartridge filter that has tears in the cartridges, the debris will flow back in, causing the pool to be cloudy in that case also. And I mentioned the sand filter is inefficient, so a lot of times you're going to have cloudy water with a sand filter for no real reason except that the sand filter is just not filtering the water properly. So poor running or old equipment is a contributor to cloudy pool water. You also may have a suction leak at the pump. This is where air is getting in. Usually it's right at the threaded part before the pump and on top, the discharge. And so the pump's not going to be running at full capacity. You'll see a lot of air inside the pump lid. When you look through the clear lid, it's not going to be totally full of water, and that's an indication of a suction leak. Another problem along with that is something clogged in the line. Sometimes debris will get stuck in the skimmer line, causing this pump not to run properly also, and you won't have the flow. So all of this ties into the flow of the pool, I think, from the dirty filter, poor running equipment, some kind of leak letting air into the system, or a clogged line. And this really restrict the flow of the pool, which is probably the important factor of all. The takeaway from all this, with all this here, is that the pool flow is a big factor in keeping the pool clear. So you want to make sure that the pool is flowing at the highest efficiency. So part of the flow is the runtime of the pool. And a lot of customers will mess with their timer and bring it down to 2 or 3 hours, thinking they're going to save electricity, and the pool is going to get cloudy, and then they complain about their pool not being clear. So the pool has to run for a certain amount of time, especially in the summertime. You want to get at least one cycle of water through. If you live in states where it gets really hot and humid, you may need more than one cycle of water. And one cycle of water is simply all the water in the pool passing through the pump, passing through the filter, and back out again to the return line. So you have to have that happening at least once per day, in some areas twice per day. So a typical runtime in the summertime for a 20,000 gallon pool is anywhere from 8 hours, even as high as 14 hours, depending on your location. If you have a smaller pool, you can run it a little less because there's less water to get through the filter. But generally speaking, you have to run your pool more than 2 or 3 hours a day. Otherwise, you're not going to have the water clarity that you desire. So the pool runtime is a big factor. If you have a variable speed pump, a lot of times customers will leave it on low speed the whole time, 1400 RPMs, and they'll run it for maybe 10 hours or 12 hours a day, and it's not sufficient enough to get the pool circulating. I had one pool in particular where the system had an error and the high speed mode wasn't coming on, and so for 2 weeks I couldn't figure out what was going on with the pool until I was able to get inside the house and check the panel and realize that the high speed mode just wasn't working. So after that was fixed, the pool cleared up pretty rapidly, but for those 2 weeks period, the pool was running only at 1400 RPMs for 8 hours a day, and that just wasn't doing it. So that also is a factor with the variable speed pump. You want to make sure that you're running it at high speed some portion of the day, and you don't have to run it at the full 3450. You can run it at 2300 RPMs or 2500 RPMs, and that'll be sufficient enough to get the pool circulating and keep the pool from getting cloudy. So all those are the main factors in a cloudy pool. No chlorine in the pool, dirty filter, poor equipment, some kind of damage to the filter or clogged pump or clogged line. And then the other factor is algae. A lot of the times you'll brush the pool and the algae dust will stir up, and this will cause the pool to be cloudy also. So these are the main things I see about 80% of the time on my pool route, maybe 90% of the time. These are the main factors that cause the cloudy pool water. So I'm going to go over some of the other causes that aren't quite as common, but they should still be mentioned because you're probably going to run into this if you're a homeowner or if you service pools for a living. So let me run down the other factors that may cause cloudy pool water for you. The first one is heavy use of the pool. So if you do commercial accounts or if you do pools or if your pool has a lot of swimmers in it, the bathing load is high, the water is going to get cloudy pretty rapidly from the suntan lotion, from the body fluids, from the oils getting in the water, getting stirred up, and that causes the pool water to get cloudy. So any pool with heavy use, you're going to definitely need to shock the pool after the use. Run the pool before, a lot longer than you normally would run it before a party. And a lot of times you're doing that anyway because you're heating up the pool. And then after the party, you want to run the pool to get the water cleared up. So high bathing load is one factor in cloudy pool water. Another one along that same lines is if you have dogs swimming in the pool, that'll get the water pretty cloudy pretty quickly. I have one pool on my route where there are 4 dogs swimming in it every week. Another one where dogs like to take dips in it, and the dogs are pretty dirty to begin with. They'll get in the pool and they'll make that water pretty cloudy. I really don't like dogs swimming in pools, but it's hard to avoid if customers let them swim in there. It's just very unsanitary. The dogs have a lot of dirt on them. They have a lot of other things on them that you probably don't want in your pool water, and definitely wouldn't have dogs swimming in a pool, but again, that's the customer's choice, and that's your choice also. Another thing related to dogs is ducks. They'll land there in the morning. You may not even see them if you're at work all day, and they'll fly away in the afternoon, but they'll leave the pool pretty messy, and a telltale sign is their droppings on the bottom or on the deck of the pool. They go to the bathroom quite a bit. So ducks will also make the pool pretty cloudy pretty quickly, so keep an eye out for any evidence that ducks are using your pool in the early mornings and afternoons. They're probably out of there by then, so you won't see them, but I see them a lot of times when I get to a pool around 7 in the morning. The ducks will be in the pool, and they can really mess up a pool really rapidly. Then I mentioned that you want to use liquid chlorine to shock the pool because there are some shocks out there that will actually cloud the pool up. The main culprit is Cal Hypo. If you put that directly in the pool, chances are it's going to be pretty cloudy. I suggest if you're going to use Cal Hypo to dump it through the skimmer. There's also a very cheap powder dichlor out there. Not the dichlor granular, but a dichlor powder shock. And this will really cloud the pool up very rapidly. I don't recommend getting the dichlor shock. I've seen it sold at Costco and Walmart. And you don't want to use the dichlor powder because it'll cloud at the pool and it takes a long time for it to clear up at that point. If you are trying to raise the alkalinity up and you add baking soda, that will also cause the pool to be cloudy. Same with soda ash. If your pH is low, you're trying to raise it up. So I suggest using the baking soda and soda ash directly into the skimmer to avoid the cloudy pool water in that case. And then some odd ones that I run into, and I run into these on my route, is that if you have a fiberglass pool that's in ground that was built similar to what would happen when you're building a regular in-ground pool, not the ones that are dropped in with a shell. These are like built-in in-ground fiberglass pools. Well, the coating, the glaze on it will actually come off, and then you'll see a white powder in your pool all the time, making it cloudy. And it's time to resurface the fiberglass at that point, reglaze it, and you'll see that you'll brush the side of the fiberglass pool and a cloud of white dust will come off. And it's very common in an older fiberglass in-ground pool. So that's one thing I've run into before, that you may be perplexed of why the pool is so cloudy, and it's your fiberglass wearing out. And then painted pools. I've run into painted pools, people that don't paint the pools properly. The paint will start to come off within the first 6 months or a year, and this will make the pool extremely cloudy. So if you're going to have your pool painted, you definitely want to have someone who knows what they're doing. They're going to have to use a special primer first and then paint it. And chances are, a lot of the times you're going to see really poor painted pools, and you're going to see the dust from the paint as a side effect of that in the pool. Not uncommon. I've seen that on my route also, where the paint is coming off, causing the water to be very cloudy. So let me go over some things that you can do to prevent cloudy pool water during the season. First thing is to check your chlorine level at least once a week. If you're a homeowner doing your own pool, you have the luxury of checking it several times a week, so you want to do that. And make sure that you have at least 3 parts per million of chlorine in the pool all season long. 3 to 5 parts per million would be ideal in the summertime. And if you're using anything like a UV or ozone or any kind of mineral help like the Pool RX or the Remington Solar, you could definitely run your pool with a lower chlorine level, and you may notice a little cloudiness if it gets too low. So you definitely want to keep your pool, if you're running UV or one of the mineral helps, to have it at 1 parts per million or a little bit higher than that, and that will help keep the water from getting cloudy. So check your chemicals every week, balance it. You want to make sure the pH and alkalinity are in range also, and as long as you have those in range, the chlorine will be effective, and you're not going to have a lot of problems with cloudy water. Everything kind of goes hand in hand, so keep an eye on the pH, keep it between 7.4, 7.8, and also keep the alkalinity for between 80 and 120, and that will help keep the water balanced, and you'll avoid a lot of the cloudiness. And part of having the balanced water is having water that's not too old in your pool. Sometimes the water can get really old, and there can be a lot of TDS, total dissolved solids, in the water, which would cause it to be cloudy sometimes also. I've seen this happen a few times where the water is just really bad, and you'll find a lot of other chemistry problems with pool water that's really old with high TDS. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that also. That could be a factor too in having a cloudy water. And another thing that you want to do is to make sure that you clean your filter every 6 months at least, if you have a full-size filter. If you have a single cartridge filter, a lot of people in Florida have this, you want to clean your filter probably about once a month. And you want to replace the single cartridge filter more often than you think, maybe every 6 to 8 months, or maybe even up to a year if you're lucky. But those single cartridge filters wear out a lot quicker than if you had 4 of the larger cartridges, or a D filter or a sand filter. So keep that in mind. You want to clean your filter often when it's dirty. When the PSI goes up by 10 parts, you want to take the filter apart and clean it. If you have a D filter, you can backwash it sometime to get it back down. And if you have a sand filter, you want to backwash it once the PSI gets 8 to 10 parts above the clean PSI in the filter. And again, don't overdo the backwashing of the sand filter. It'll actually make it inefficient and may contribute to the cloudy pool water. Then if your equipment's really old, you definitely want to think about replacing it. I would suggest a variable speed pump. If your pump's really old, you want to make sure that the filter doesn't have any broken parts in it. And if the filter's really old, replace the filter. And an equipment upgrade will make a world of difference, and many times with cloudy pool water. And remember that a cloudy pool is a precursor to a green pool, so definitely you want to address the equipment problems, any kind of leaks by the equipment, any kind of clogs in the line. One thing I didn't touch on is part of the equipment is low water in the pool. I run into this a lot on my pool route. If there's no in-deck autofill, customers won't fill their pool up. For whatever reason, they're busy, or they think that filling their pool too much is bad because we're in a drought. They'll leave the pool really low, and this will really affect the flow of the pool and cause the equipment not to run properly. So the water level is pretty critical. So you want to make sure the water level is kept all season long at the right level in your pool. So don't let the water level get low. You can also damage your equipment with the water level low, but of course with low water levels in the pool, the equipment's not running, the water's not flowing, and the pool will get cloudy very rapidly and it will turn green within a week or two unless you fill the water up and get that proper water level back up. And then the other odd things that I talked about, you want to address those things. If you have a lot of people swimming in the pool, you definitely want to bring the chlorine level up after the party and run the pool longer. So those are a lot of the factors that contribute to a cloudy pool water, and you're going to run into a lot of this as a homeowner or as a pool service professional out there, and it's correctable. It's very correctable, and you can get your pool water crystal clear again by following the steps I outlined here in this podcast. Just identify the particular problem that's causing your cloudy pool water. So simply address the problem that I outlined here, whatever the problem may be for your pool that's causing it to be cloudy, and your pool will be crystal clear again. If you have any questions about cloudy pool water, you can definitely contact me on my website at swimmingpoollearning.com. If you're watching the YouTube version of this podcast, you can leave a comment in the comment section, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. And if you want further help or more resources on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, I have an ebook available for $9.99, and this ebook covers a lot of things that will help keep your pool in balance, and it also covers cloudy pool water in the ebook also. And I definitely recommend getting that ebook. It's a 200-page book with over 500 video links also. So you'll be reading the book and you can go watch a video that would help you with any kind of particular problem you may be having with your pool. And if you're in the pool service industry, I have a coaching program that I use through the Patreon site, and you can join this program for $10 a month. You can text me in real time, and for $20 a month you can call me and text me. There's also a group chat that's really taking off, and I have about 65 pool guys in here. I also have a couple manufacturers in here that can answer questions for you inside the group thread. So definitely recommend joining me, joining my coaching program group. And also you'll get 10% off your liability insurance through SPPA, and you'll also receive a free copy of my ebook, and you'll get 10% off the Riptide pool vacuum system when you join my group. So there's a lot of great benefits for you if you're a pool service professional and you want to join my coaching group through Patreon. You can find out more information about that on my website also. On the homepage you can just scroll down and you can see Pool Guy and Gal Coaching. Click on that link and that'll take you to my Patreon page where you can read more about that program. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you found it helpful with your cloudy pool. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy